I think, going beyond Brett Kavanaugh, and it's an argument being made by Republicans. There's a question about whether it's true, but there's a whole Washington Post article this morning where the title is "Male Fury and Fear Rises in GOP in Defense of Kavanaugh." And the notion is that men are somehow being threatened in a larger sense by what's happening.
And that they're as energized now, that if Brett Kavanaugh is an avatar of how men, white men, are now being victimized and besieged by all of this Me Too movement, are they as energized as women are?
Hang on one second, Jeffrey, because I want to do two things. One, I want to play Donald Trump Jr., who in this interview made this case. So let's play Donald, DJT.
Who are you scared most for, your sons or your daughters?
I mean, right now, I'd say my sons. But when the other side weaponizes it against men and says, 40 years later, we can bring it up, and you did something in high school that no one remembers, but it should disqualify you from ever doing anything again, it really diminishes the real claims.
So that's text as subtext right there.
You know what? Every night, I cry myself to sleep over the fate of white men in America. White men have no power. White men, I mean, it's such garbage. I mean, it is so ridiculous. You're not listening
to right-wing media where this is a talking point that has caught on like wildfire.
I understand that. And you know what? If you sexually assault someone in high school, your life should be ruined. Your life should be pursued. I mean, the idea that this is somehow unjust. Remember, this all started with accusations of sexual assault. How about the lives of the women who were sexually assaulted in high school? How about the 15-year-old Ms. Blasey? She wasn't Ms. Blasey Ford in those days. How about her life? All this whining about the poor plight of white men is ridiculous.
And can I say one thing here? Because the case is being made in the Republican Party that there's this rage that's rising and it could have an impact in the polls. Well, we have a poll from Quinnipiac which shows perhaps something different. It gets to the idea of support for Brett Kavanaugh, and support for Brett Kavanaugh has dropped substantially over the last week. 48% now oppose his confirmation. It was 42 in this Quinnipiac poll on September 10th. You can see the opposition growing, and we don't have the poll out here, but the male numbers actually haven't changed. Men are not supporting or opposing this confirmation in any greater numbers. Women, however, are opposing this confirmation in much greater numbers. 55% oppose the confirmation, Anita. So if there is energy, Republicans making the case that angry white men are going to change the fray. Maybe it's not the angry white men. Maybe it's the angry women.
Well, I think, listen, women have a voice in this country, and they need to, and they do exercise it. We see this, too, in record numbers of women that are running for office this time. That's a good thing. I think women bring great sensitivity and clarity to a lot of big issues in our country. And I think, with the clip that you showed from Don Jr., maybe not the best messenger for this issue of fair. What I take from that really is an issue of fairness for both men and women to be treated appropriately, fairly, and for all their voices to be heard. Maybe he's not the best messenger for it, but as a mother of a son and a daughter, I worry about both of them. So.
Me too.
I think we can all agree that Don Jr. is, if you're in the war room for Brett Kavanaugh and you saw that, you cringed and you said, that's a setback for us.
Absolutely. And I think we can all agree with Anita that if there's a silver lining, this is a teachable moment for our sons and daughters.
But the teaching has to be done by the men at this point. Women have made their point, and Jeffrey made an important point yesterday.
You mean the learning has to be done by the men?
Women keep coming forward, and the train keeps running them over. Well, and men have to take the lead on teaching our sons what's right, and because otherwise, if the white male who Jeffrey's crying himself to sleep every night sits back and says, this doesn't impact me, then women's voices will not make change. Men have to make the change.